2024. We are going to go ahead and get started. We do have opening prayer to be led by Pastor Vining of New Hebron. It's not Hebron Fellowship. I put new in front of it. Hebron Fellowship. And we have the Pledge of Allegiance that will be done by by the entire Warner Robins Fire Department recruit class, which is very exciting. So at this moment, I will ask if everyone would please stand. Pastor Vining will start us off in our prayer. We'll go right into the pledge. Thank you.
So grateful to be here today. Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you today for this opportunity that we can come together with all of these ideals and energies and perspectives to this one place that we can accomplish one thing, your will. Forgive us of any sin that's within us. Bless us as we forgive those who sin against us. Bless every council member, every department head, every department in our city. Bless the leaders, bless every employee. God, bless the ones whose names are on the marquee and bless the ones whose names are never spoken, but you know when their work is not done. So help us be able to be a bright, shining light in the midst of this state, that we can bring forth whatever it is that you desire, that we can be a shining example of what an international city is all about, that we can live a productive and healthy life, and that this meeting is filled with ideals and encouragement, that we be better tomorrow than we were today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You may be seated. Thank you, Pastor Vining, for leading us in prayer, and join me in congratulating the recruits for the fire department. All right, I officially call today's meeting to order. As always, if you do not have a print-off of our agenda for today's meeting, there may still be some outside of this glass rotunda. If not, there is a QR code on the glass door where you can scan it and follow along on your electronic device. I will now request an adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I second that motion.
Motion by Councilman Lashley, seconded by Councilman Curtis. All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Aye. Motion carries. All right, now we have announcements, and we're going to do something a little bit differently when it comes to the announcements. I'm going to allow council to make any comments about some of the recent activity we've been hearing about across our media. If you so wish. If you do not want to, then just say, I pass. But I'm going to start on the side where, with Post 6, Councilman Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Madam Mayor said it earlier. She said it best, that we are citizens just like each and every one of y'all. We're no different from each and every one of y'all. I'm going to start out by saying that talking about those assessments that were done by the county for property taxes. That's been the biggest thing in the news lately. And I noticed that the city of Warner Robins is being dragged through the mud, right? I got all 32 of mine last Friday, and they were significantly high. But I would like for people to understand that Warner Robins is only a part of, will only receive a portion of that money. There are 3 other entities that's going to be receiving money. So I hear a lot of people saying, hey, Warner Robins, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm asking everybody to get a true understanding of what's really going on. And make sure you understand that those other three entities need to be brought to the table too. We need to go to them and we need to say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Those other three entities are going to receive way more money than we are. So, just don't sit here and just say, hey, Warner Robins, you're the bad guys. Y'all this, y'all that. Understand what you're saying and what you're doing. Make sure that we hold everybody accountable. Because if you do not, it's going to continue to go on. I know there's a lot of people been talking about rolling back the millage rate or whatever. If we decide to roll back the millage rate, your taxes are still going to be high. They're still going to be up. It's just a portion that's going to come off. So I just want everybody to understand it's just not Warner Robins. And also understand that Warner Robins did not make those assessments. So let's hold everybody accountable. Let's call everybody to the table and not just drag Warner Robins through the mud. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Holmes?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilman Curtis said it the best, and I don't believe in beating a dead horse. But I do say to you that as a taxpayer, you do have the right to go to the meetings, just as you all have been coming here, as you've been blowing up our phones daily, accusing the city of doing these type things. Go to the county meetings, voice your concerns. If you are in a position to apply for homestead exemption and have not done that, do that. You may or may not qualify because it's based on salary or income. I know I was told several years ago that I didn't qualify for a homestead exemption at the county because of my income. Poor teacher, but the income was what I was told. I came back to the city and asked, and they said, no, you're not. She said, but you will be next year if everything remains the same. So take advantage of the opportunities that's presented to you. And don't be so quick to point the fingers because all 7 of us up here pay the same taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lashley, do you wish to make any comments?
Yes. Again, you can't say it enough. Attend those meetings that other entities have, not just the county commissioners. There's another player on that tax chart that gets, look at the one that has it. You see the county, you see the city. If you live in a city, there's 2 other line items on there. That's your Board of Education. They get the lion's share of all of it. They get all of our sales tax. So maybe it's time we start negotiating some of that local option sales tax with the board again. It hadn't been done in decades. It was originally done so we can build the schools up back when we had brag commissions, different things like that. I understand that. We don't have to worry about that anymore for right now. Maybe we need to consider that 3% sales tax doing an equal share between the county, the schools, and the cities themselves. 82, that's a couple decades ago, isn't it? Well, that's like a lot of, yeah, I'm 50, so I was 8 when they did that, so I'm old. Yeah, but again, there's income sources out there that can offset property taxes if we look at sharing that local option sales tax alone. I can't remember the exact numbers, but the money we made off of Buc-ee's in revenue was more than we make off the entire city because we don't get anything for it. So let's think about that too, and let's get all players involved in this, not just the city, not just the county, but the board's got to step up to the plate too. And Buc-ee's not in Houston County. That's why we get sales tax from them. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lawrenson, do you have any comments?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. From what I understand, this has gone on for the last couple of years, and I've never appealed my personal one because it could make it worse. But I do know that this situation is really controlled by the state and not the county or the school board or the city. What's within our power is whether or not we roll back the millage rate, which, as Mr. Curtis said, wouldn't necessarily, I think Mr. Holmes said it too, wouldn't necessarily make your taxes lower. It takes some off of it. But it's not like everybody's taxes stay the same, but the amount of revenue that the entity collects would stay the same. And I'm certainly in favor of that based on the recent situation and how it jumped up so drastically this year. I thought the last 2 years was drastic. This year it was even more drastic. And so we feel you and we understand, and I believe the county does too. The county's rolled back their rate, I think, the last 2 years. So I know they understand, and they're hearing the same things. And the school board, I don't think, has rolled theirs back, and we haven't rolled ours back. But I'm gonna challenge the school board and call on them to consider a rollback this year, because I think that would help a great deal, and I think it's time. But I do feel like that this is manageable. We'll get through this. We know that inflation is impacting the world, but especially our country, and our state is thriving. Our local communities are thriving. Those are good things. Those aren't bad things. Inflation's not good. But here locally, we are doing well. We do have higher incomes and salaries than other areas, and so I'm thankful for that. But this hurts everyone, and so it's my prayer that we can help out as a city or a local entity by rolling the rate back this time, if possible. If our budget doesn't allow it, it doesn't allow it, but hopefully that we can. But I do want to make the statement that the state controls this. If we're not within a certain percentage of how we value our property to what it does in other areas like ours, then our whole county will be penalized. So we have to be careful and not jump to conclusions, but just kind of try to find out, be educated, find out what we can do to help you find out what you can do to make things better for yourself. And we're all in this together, and I think that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So, Councilman Bibb, welcome. I'll tell you what we're doing right now. We're doing something a little differently during the announcements, allowing councilmen to make comments if they'd like about some of the recent discussions that we're seeing across the media. If you'd like to go, you can. If you'd like to wait until Councilman Mack and go last, you can do that as well. So, Councilman Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. My fellow councilmen, they've all expressed probably the same things that I felt. But with Warner Robins being the parent city, as they say, to our county, we often are in the line of fire for a lot of accusations saying that we were doing this and we were doing that. And we signed up for those challenges. But I've said it since day one to implement a local option sales tax and probably lowering the millage rate as an alternative stream of income for our city, because even though our numbers say that we have so many people living here, we service in excess of that by tens of thousands on a daily basis, that people come into our community and go home and live in other cities, which we should be able to take advantage of them when they're going out to lunch, especially during the lunch hour, our sales, our restaurant base. We need to be able to take advantage of some of that through a local option sales tax to offset rooftops as an alternate means of income for our city, so that we can keep our taxes at a comparable rate where the citizens can afford to live. So with that being said, and also with the county commissioners and other entities that were mentioned also, they're out of the line of fire because they have their meetings at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock during the week. I challenge them to change their meeting times to the same time we do ours, so that they could be accessible to the line of fire of the people that live here that don't see them. We get phone calls 24/7 because we're visible and we're attainable. You can access us through meetings as such. I'm a councilman. I have yet to be to a commissioner's meeting because I'm at work when they have their meetings. So I challenge you all to change your meetings to a time where most of our citizens can be engaged with you and express their concerns like they do with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bibb, do you wish to make any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pretty sure everybody's covered that. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think all of us love that our property values go up because it does help us in a certain sense. But when you keep raising taxes and property values, it begins to hurt, especially in our economy today. And I think enough is enough. Last year, I know that there was a battle between us to roll them back, but we had included it in our budget process already. But this year we have not, and I'm just letting you know I want to roll back the millage rate to help our citizens in Warner Robins get a tax relief and not a tax burden.
Thank you, Councilman. So with that, councilmen have all made comments of how they personally feel regarding what we've been experiencing recently with the news of the new property value reassessments that's done by the County of Houston. We've been very adamant about ensuring everyone, especially our City of Warner Robins taxpayers, understand that the City of Warner Robins has zero to do with the increased property values you're experiencing. My personal property has increased 20% with this new increase in the assessed value. So just as you have to pay more, I have to pay more too. So of course, as you are concerned, I too am concerned. But council has already stated that we want to do what is right and what is proper for our taxpayers, which are constituents of the City of Warner Robins. That's the only thing that we can control, is what our millage rate is for our constituents. So based on what we all are experiencing, unbeknownst to anyone that sits up here, we learned just the same time you did that these have increased. Our hope is to explore all avenues, which do include rolling back the millage rate so that you do not see an increase in what you're paying to the City of Warner Robins. That's going to be on the line item. So what you'd pay to us. We cannot speak to the other pieces that show for your tax payments. We can only talk to what you see what will be owed to the City of Warner Robins for taxes. So if in fact council decides to roll back the millage rate, which, listening to everyone up here, you get a good idea of what we are preparing to do, you will see that you do not have an increase when it comes to the City of Warner Robins taxes. We cannot speak to the other pieces. I do want to make sure that everyone understands, as they did say, this has brought out a lot of ugliness in people in the County of Houston and the City of Warner Robins. The names that they call me alone should make you blink twice. But this is a strong person you're looking at, and I'm not afraid to have the difficult conversations, and I'm absolutely not afraid to make sure that I defend our city at all costs that are within the law, and that's what I do, and I will continue to do so. So as I do that and speak for the city, please know that is not our doing, and we found out just like you. So we have not increased our taxes. We have kept a steady millage rate since before I ever was here, which goes back at least 12 years. Just like if you go to buy something at the store, we know the sales tax rate is 7%. Whenever you pay taxes for the City of Warner Robins, your tax rate, quote unquote, is 9.98 mils. That has consistently been the same. So if inflation causes the same milk, eggs, bread that you used to pay $5 for and pay the 7% tax on that, which now might come up to $15, you're going to pay more tax. This is what a property reassessment means. Your property values are now higher, but the city's rate for you is the same. But what we are looking at now is making our rate lower so that now when you pay for that bread, eggs, and milk, the amount you're getting taxed is going to be the same as you had last year and not a higher value. So I want to make sure it's very clear across the board what that means. And that also means the city is going to collect less money than what inflation would tell us we could collect. But we are prepared for that. We can handle that part of the deal. But I want to make sure we're making a sacrifice to do what we know is right to do for the betterment of the city constituents here in Warner Robins. And I also want to state one last thing before we move on. I need everybody to lean in and pay close attention to what I'm going to tell you, okay? The state does have ordinances. They do have codes. We do have laws. And inside of it, it does state that the average level of assessments for each class of property meets the mandated state standard of 36% to 44%. Okay? So that means what the county is alleging is supported by state law, which you find with the Department of Revenue. Now, what we are doing is we've already put in a request through Open Records, and I encourage any of you to do the same if you so wish, to look at the statistics for Houston County, for our taxes in Houston County over the past 5 years, so that we can see where we are when it comes to this 36 to 44% standard, okay? So we're going to do that homework, and we're going to report it to you when we have our next budget meeting, as long as we hear back from the Department of Revenue. So basically, we're fact-checking to see if, in fact, the state mandates a 4th year of a countywide reassessment, which is what we have now just experienced. If, in fact, the state mandates it, then we're going to have the proof to show you this is what the state said to our specific question about this specific year and this specific property taxes, okay? So we're doing that information to get it over to you. But again, we didn't do it, but we intend to do what's right for our taxpayers. So thank you for entertaining us when it comes to that. I know we do have Mr. Chairman and a commissioner here. I'm sure you may have some questions, but they are there in the back. So at this point, we're going to move on to we don't have any proclamations, awards, or presentations. So we're moving right into number 1, which is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of May 20th to be discussed by Councilman Lashley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sure all of us have had time to review these minutes, and therefore I make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of May 20th, 2024.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Lashley, seconded by Councilman Mack. All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Motion carries. Number 2, formal public comments pertaining to the current agenda items. This is open to members from the public who may want to speak about the current agenda items, which will include the proposed budget for fiscal year 25. So before anyone raises their hand about the proposed budget for 25, I do want to share that we did hold a budget hearing right before our pre-council began, so which started at 4 p.m. We did hold that. And I do want to just give a quick overview of it before we get started. The agenda we have, the budget we have for fiscal year 25 is $159,740,324. So our fiscal year budget is $159 million, okay? And our revenues that we are anticipating bringing in from the first day of our fiscal year to the last day of fiscal year 25 totals $149.6 million, okay? Again, the revenues we're intending to bring in from the first day of the fiscal year 25 to the last day of the fiscal year 25, $145 million. That number does not include our money for our SPLOST, our money for bonds, our money for grants, and our money for ARPA. Only what we intend to bring in from the fiscal year. So monies that we already have in our coffers that would cover operations or capital improvement projects, they do not show when we're talking about revenue coming in for our general fund, okay? Now, the anticipated expenditures for fiscal year 25 total $159.7 million. This is the amount we intend to spend from day 1 to the final day of fiscal year 25. So the revenues I gave you was just from general fund. That does not include our enterprise funds. Enterprise funds have an enterprise fund for sanitation, water, sewer, gas, and stormwater. All of these are utilities that the city owns that we make money off of by billing. And these are services our city constituents enjoy. When we talk about our enterprise fund, anticipated revenues, and you're going to we went over this when we had our budget hearing. Some individuals who are in that room remember this page. So for our anticipated revenues for our enterprise funds, for sanitation, we anticipate 10.7 million. Water and sewer, we anticipate 22.5 million. Gas, 20.7 million. Stormwater, 3.1 million. These are the estimated amounts that our finance department believes we will bring in for billing that won't start until the first day of the fiscal year 25, which is July 1, and it will end the last day of June next year. Now, the anticipated expenditures that we have for our enterprise funds for sanitation is 9.8 million. For water and sewer, it's 23.3 million. Gas is 22.1 million. And stormwater is 3.2 million. Okay. So for 3 of those numbers I called out, if you look at it, it's going to show a net loss for 3 of them. But this is the part that got everybody confused in our budget hearing. When you look at a net loss for an enterprise fund based on a fiscal year, we are talking about the amounts that we are planning for billing, which brings in the revenue, and then the expenditures, which includes capital improvement projects. Capital improvement projects, we already have money in the bank to complete. They don't go on here. The revenues we have for those, such as through bonds, grants, SPLOST, and ARPA, do not show as an anticipated revenue because it's not revenue, it's not a billing. This is money we already have to do capital improvement projects, which we will spend the money for this fiscal year, okay? So they were planned out fiscal years prior. Usually we have capital improvement plans that might be over a course of 5 years. I think for sewer, we might have 20? Okay, so we have different levels of our capital improvement plans, but they go out a number of years. The funding for them does not show on this enterprise funds because it's not a revenue. We're only showing revenue and expenditures, but expenditure money is coming from bonds, grants, SPLOST, ARPA, okay? So that's why you're seeing a net, because we weigh what we're planning to spend in a fiscal year versus the revenue we bring in. We did not include in the other monies that will cover said capital improvement plans. So to button this piece up for you, when we're talking about the amount of money the enterprise funds have, sanitation has 2.5 million inside of a fund balance, meaning this is money and assets we have that exceed the revenues. Water and sewer, fund balance is 54.7 million. That exceed revenues for this upcoming fiscal year. Gas, fund balance 15.8 million, and stormwater fund balance is 22.3 million. So all of our enterprise are very healthy and make us pretty good money, and we put it away whenever we need to use it. Now the anticipated what we plan to bring in this fiscal year only is what you're going to see on this enterprise fund balance sheet, okay? So I wanted to clarify that because we had a lot of questions and concerns inside of our budget hearing, and I hope I did a good job of explaining it this time. But we do have another hearing that will take place on Monday at noon. So next Monday at noon, right here in this room, we will have our second budget hearing, and we will show you exactly what I just said to you so you can see that we have a balanced budget for the city of Warner Robins fiscal year 25, and we have plenty of money in the bank to do some stuff with. So if we intend to roll back, which we've said we intend to do so, we have money to take care of what we need to take care of, okay? All right, so at that time, now that I have completed an overview of the budget in brief that was gone over during our budget hearing, I am going to open the floor for number 2 on our agenda, which is formal public comments pertaining to our current agenda items only. If anyone has a question, concern, comment about items number 3 through 7, which is on this current agenda, you will have an opportunity to make your statements made at the podium. You will have 3 minutes on the clock, which is timed for you at the top of the rotunda. Please state your name and address, and please note that council and I hear you, but we are not able to respond to you. So at this point, the door is now open for anyone who'd like to make any comments, including those about our budget and about property value reassessments.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charlotte Crawford. I live at 106 Northview Avenue here in Warner Robins. I would guess this would pertain to the budget, and thank you very much for explaining that. I actually understood that, which is amazing. Okay, this concerns a road, Pearl Stevens Way. My granddaughter came through C.B. Watson. She lives with me. She went to Pearl Stevens, and now she's at Huntington Middle. There was something, a date about 1982 over there. when the monies were appropriated for the schools to get them up and coming. Apparently that road was left behind. I'm guessing that road is probably 150 yards long, and I have counted no less than 24 patches. The other problem with that road is that not only does it look blighted, like it came out of the worst inner city road you could possibly imagine, is that there's a safety issue in my that I feel. And that's with the way the road is lined, the directions, the turn lanes, the in, the outs, and I can't help but think, every time I pass it, and I do it often because I pick my granddaughter up from school every day, and did while she was at Pearl Stevens and Watson. I try to take care of the outside of my house. First appearances mean a lot. And I feel bad because a perfectly good school, and we enjoyed, my granddaughter enjoyed it, was very, very productive there and did well, and I know, it's a good school, it's a solid school, we were involved with it. But to have their entryway look like something that got left behind since 1982. So if there's any money in the budget, if anybody cares to drive down that road, it's just a short road, Pearl Stevens Way. Like I said, it's not very long, but it's in dire need of repair, and I'd just like to bring that up. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford. All right, anyone else? Going once? Going, okay.
Good evening. My name's Sarah Gilbert. I reside in Warner Robins at 109 Estates Way. I've lived in Houston County and Warner Robins nearly all my life. My first council meeting was actually when I was honored enough to receive to our city. This is, however, the very first time I've attended as a concerned resident. In my family, when we bring up politics, I'm the first one to walk away. And I've never really gotten involved with those discussions because I think, like a lot of citizens, it's easier to be apathetic at times and unaware and not feel like your voice is going to be heard if you use it. I think a lot of people would resonate with that. We elect our representatives into power based on party, popularity, familiarity, policy, and at the end of the day, we walk away and we put our trust that things are being done in good faith on our behalf for us. And I'm here today just to speak because I want to ensure that that is the case and that we have open and honest conversations, and I'm now an active participant in that where I may not have been previously. Though I know the city is not responsible for the county property valuations, I am here today to implore you to roll back the millage rate, as we've already talked about and some of you spoke to. Increased tax revenue is par for the course over time, especially in times of inflation. I do understand that. However, our problem here is not that there has been an increase in tax revenue for the city, but rather it's been the rate of these property tax and assessment increases over the last several years, which is just not sustainable for homeowners. Property tax revenue is separate in its danger from any other stream of tax revenue that a government can procure, and that's because it has the potential to force people from their homes. And I think it's a testament to how dangerous and how much that must be carefully regarded, and because of all the people who are here today who are concerned. It's something that affects the least privileged of us the very most, and it's for that reason that I'm here speaking today. And that's why I'd like you to consider every possibility and alternative when you weigh your options in this manner. I understand that it's much more complicated than a simple yes or no, and that there's a lot that goes into it, as we've seen from the budget. I will say that I really appreciated Councilman Mack and Councilman Lashley, your comments on different alternatives and ways to bring in revenue, because again, that is what I feel like is something that really needs to be creatively looked at from the council members, because it's not, again, I think we all would love a great city where taxes help make it better. We want better programs. If people are going to be upset about roads, you have to have money to fix it. And so you can't do that without taxes. And
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Your time has expired, but
Sure.
I'm going to see if
One
you
more.
could take up a second person spot and just restart it.
thank you, I
'Cause
appreciate it.
she's the last person that wants to speak, so, okay, sorry to interrupt.
No,
Continue.
that's okay. Anyways, I just wanted to say that I do appreciate looking into alternatives. I think that it can be a little easier to go after the city or the county. I do think it is more complicated to go after the board, because the automatic thing that people think is that they need more money all the time. But it can always be looked at how you manage it and how those are taken care of. Yes? Sorry? Is that okay?
I'm not supposed to make a comment
no,
or
that's okay.
respond, but I did want to say 100 million in reserves. Okay, you can continue.
Yeah, no. And so I do appreciate that as well, because I know that there are other ways and means that we can look at controlling this for our residents, and I think that they should all be brought to the table, as was mentioned, as well as local option sales tax. I think there's a lot of ways we could help our residents without threatening their homes. That is absolutely why I'm here today, and why I feel like the need to speak for people who maybe do not have the ability to speak for themselves. One quick secondary concern. I want to address the hiring of a finance director to replace Holly Gross. I know she hasn't been in her role since 2022. In times like this, I feel like that should be a top concern and priority. You need a director to direct, to have discernment, to be meticulous, to be creative in how we find money, how we utilize our money, and how we're good stewards of that. And it's hard because I don't think many of you up there have the experience in counting, nor do I, to understand the vast amount that goes into a budget. And that is why we desperately need to be looking for that position. Thank you all for your consideration and your service and your concern for your constituents. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. All right. Any others before we close the door? Going once, going twice. The door is now closed. Thank you for those comments. All right, now we shall move on to item number 3, which is the consent agenda to be discussed by Councilman Mack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, to include 9 purchasing items and 3 employee promotions whose names I'd like to mention in honor of their promotions, that being Mr. Scott Hickman, Marie Cabello, and Jeffrey Jonte.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Mack, seconded by Councilman Bibb. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion carries. Something we do now is if there's anyone who is on the promotions list, if you are here, we ask that you please come forward. All right. Well, we still congratulate the city employees for their promotions. On to item number 4, which is an ordinance for the fiscal year 25 budget, first reading, to be discussed by Councilman Bibb.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the mayor of the city of Warner Robins has prepared and submitted to the city council a line item budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and ending July 30th, 2025. And whereas the mayor and council have studied and revised and proposed budget, and it is in the best interest of the city that the budget be adopted. Now therefore, be it ordained by the mayor and the council of the city of Warner Robins that the annual budget for the general government for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025, attached hereto and made part thereof, of the first funds and amounts referred to as follows and hereby approved and adopted. Total expenditures of all funds. Budget expenditures, $153,352,225. Transfers from other funds, $6,388,099. Total expenditures and transfers out, $159,740,324. And this is the first reading.
I'll second that, Mayor. Disregard.
Thank you, Councilman Bibb. First reading, next council meeting will be the second reading. All right, now on to item number 5, which is an ordinance for the City of Warner Robins classification plan to be discussed by Councilman Holmes.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the ordinance that the city classification plan is amended as follows. Decrease the authorized strength of police captain, job class number 628, grade 608, police department by 3 to authorized strength of 3. Reactivate the position of police major, job class 632, grade 609, authorized strength of 1 police department. Reclassify the position of assistant police chief, job class 603, grade 609, authorized strength of 1 police department to assistant police chief, job class 603, grade 610, authorized strength of 1 police department to align with the relabeling of the police department pay scales. And finally, increase the authorized strength of police lieutenant, job class 631, grade 606, the police department by 2 to authorized strength of 10, and I move to waive the second reading.
I second that motion.
Motion by Councilman Holmes, waiving the second reading, seconded by Councilman Curtis. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Number 6, a resolution for the Warner Robins Police Department pay scale to be discussed by Councilman Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A motion to approve a resolution to change the police department pay grade currently labeled as 609 used for assistant police chief position to be labeled as 610 and add a new pay grade labeled as 609 to be used for the position of police major beginning on the first in fiscal year 2025 budget.
I second that motion.
Motion by Councilman Curtis, seconded by Councilman Holmes. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Number 7, resolution for the Warner Robins PD K-9 retirement to be discussed by Councilman Lawrenson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the super fun one tonight. So we're excited about this retirement. And I would like to motion to approve a resolution whereas Castor Do we want Castor to come on up while I read, or do we want him to
You
stay?
go ahead and read it, and
Okay.
then we'll have him, he's going to come up.
Thank you. Castor is a canine service animal that has dutifully served the Warner Robins Police Department and is ripe to begin his well-deserved retirement, and that the mayor and council of the city of Warner Robins find that Castor is no longer needed to the city for public use, and that the value of the animal is less than $500. So be it further resolved that the mayor and council authorize the police department to deliver ownership of the animals to his respective handler. And again, the motion is to approve.
I second that, Mayor.
All right, motion by Councilman Lawrence and seconded by Councilman Bibb. Any discussion?
No, we'd just like to thank Castor for his service, and just thank all our officers who handle animals, and you guys do a great job of that. Our department, this department has always been wonderful in this area. It's always been a pleasure to do this.
All right, so when we have when we're in the point of discussions now, what I wanted to do was go ahead and see if Officer, Lieutenant Bish, or if Hope would like to make any comments about Castor at the podium. If there's any words you want to say about him. Castor? They're going to tell us. Yep. Thank you, Lieutenant Bish.
This ought to be fun. All right, so the police department got Castor in 2018, towards the end of the year. He had a previous handler. My dog retired. My first dog, Rasty, retired. And this dog went to another handler. After about a year, he moved on. And actually, Chief Fisher called me and was like, hey, do you want to work another dog? And I said, absolutely. So that's how I got Castor. We've been partners since then. I looked it up earlier. So we've been kind of a weird position because I was a sergeant when I got him. I've been promoted for a lieutenant for a year, so I don't get the uses, which is one of the reasons, you know, the new dog that is replacing him is actually her first day in training is today. But we had 79 arrests. There was, I think, 500 grams of cocaine that we've taken off the street. There was 1 kilogram of methamphetamines that's been taken off the street. We've had the ability to assist the U.S. Marshals. When Pulaski County had the escaped prisoners, they ended up in Warner Robins. We were with the Southeast Regional Task Force to help search for them. We have found missing people, we have found bad people, and it is a well-due time for him to just go home and be a dog. Thank you to the chief and the assistant chief and the police department for the support that they give to the K-9 unit. Thank you, council and mayor, for y'all's support as well. And we have, the unit is still strong. We have 6 dogs. We have one bomb detection dog and 5 that are narcotics detection. They all track. And that's where we're at right now. And thank you all. Thank you, everybody, for your support.
That is absolutely
fabulous. Thank you so
fabulous.
much,
Thank you.
Lieutenant Bish. Thank you, Lieutenant Bish, for what you have done. Thank you for Castor for his service. For those of you who do not know, we do have a full canine unit here. You heard him tell you how many canines we have, and our canines are a part of the work family. They are an employee of the city. So your tax dollars go to supporting our canines as well. So we are retiring a member of our personnel who happens to be Castor today, and he is going on to stay home with Lieutenant Bish. Is he? Yep. And we thank Castor for all of the stats you gave us. 79 arrests, 500 grams of cocaine, 1 kilo of meth, and all the other things that he has done throughout his career. Service well done, Castor. Thank you so much. All right, any further discussion on Castor? All right, with that, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so we have made it to the end of our agenda, and now it is time for citizen comments. If anyone has any question, comment, concern, or feedback regarding anything at all, even if it's not on the agenda today, you have the floor to speak. You will be given 3 minutes. Please state your name, address. When you do come up, please note that neither council nor I can respond to you, but we are listening to you. So the floor is now open if anyone would like to make comments.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Antoinette Davis. I reside at 109 Elise Court. I just want to extend the invitation to one and all to join us at our annual Juneteenth Festival on June the 15th that will be held in Perkins Field. The parade will begin at 10 o'clock, and the festival itself will be from 12 to 4:30. At this present time, we are looking for more parade participants, so feel free to reach out to me before you leave. You can, Antoinette Davis on Facebook, all the social media there. We have a flyer posted on the board. We just encourage any and all to come out and help us celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any others?
Again, my name is Charlotte Crawford. I live at 106 Northview Avenue in Warner Robins. Bringing Castor up here, I just wanted to... I think I saw Castor involved in a home that was on my street at one point. This house has since been demolished. The neighborhood, I'm sure I can speak for everyone, we're so happy because there was a lot of traffic, not so much the good kind. And I'm sure it's affected a lot of, for the better, a lot of businesses, including the church. That's right there, the First Baptist Church and the Ace Hardware and the floor store and that whole area right there. So I just want to thank everyone, whoever that is, to that was cleaned up, and that pretty sure I saw Castor down there at one point. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any others? Going once, going twice, 3 times. The door is now closed. All right. The next on our agenda is executive session for council and I to discuss some real estate. I do want to tell you that after a motion is made for us to exit for executive session, we do not know if we're going to have to make a vote when we get back or take action. So you're welcome to stay here and wait for us to come out of executive session. But most likely you'd probably go back home. Most people do. And you can continue watching us on streaming. But we welcome you to stay until we come back in. But thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your comments and your concerns, not just today, but a number of us have been receiving your calls, and we do appreciate you even caring what happens at our city level, because council and I are here. We are here as long as you allow us to be here. But we're constituents just like you, and as years and years go on, we will remain constituents of this great city. So thank you for always coming to make sure you're holding our city government accountable, because that's exactly what we would expect for anyone who sits here in these seats. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion that we exit for executive session.
Mayor, before we do that, just want to extend an apology for running in here at the last minute. I was officiating a funeral down in Andersonville for a veteran who had an unexpected massive heart attack. And I was down there officiating the funeral. So I just ask the citizens to excuse me for my tardiness.
Thank you for sharing that.
And Mayor,
hold on.
I'm sorry, I moved for us to go.
Hold on 1 second. Let me finish speaking. Thank you for sharing that, Councilman Reverend Bibb. All right, Councilman Lawrenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry I jumped the gun there. So I move for us to enter into executive session at this time to discuss real estate.
I'll second that, Mayor.
All right, motion by Councilman Lawrenson, seconded by Councilman Bibb. All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Motion carries. You all have a wonderful week, and we will see you at our budget hearing on Monday at 1 p.m., same place. I'm sorry, our budget hearing at noon next week, same place. Thank you. All right, may I have a motion that we return from executive session?
I'll make a motion to return from executive session.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Lawrence and seconded by Councilman Lashley. All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. We are back from executive session and we have no action to take. Therefore, we are going to the next piece of our agenda, which are council comments. We started at 6, so we're going to start at 1 this time. So Councilman Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to all the graduates that graduated last weekend in our county. All of our high schools did exceptionally well. We have a lot of kids going on to the next step in their life. Day one began on a new life. They're birthed into a new beginning for them. A lot of kids going to college, a lot of kids going in the military. They're doing very well. And I just want to continue to support them, congratulate them, and let them be a light for the grades behind them that are coming up. So I'm thankful that those people, those young adults are stepping up and doing great things in our city. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bibb.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say again to the Saleta family, sorry for your loss. Had a great man that served in the Marine Corps 2 terms in Vietnam and went home to be with the Lord. Also want to say thank you to Sarah Gilbert, who come up and spoke so eloquently, and being active and involved and getting involved in our community. We always love to see that happen. And then I want to say a special congratulations to Kinley Paxton Clark and my oldest granddaughter, who is going into middle school. So big graduation for her. And God bless you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Councilman. I have a question. Was the gentleman in Romeo or any of the local veteran groups? Do you know?
I think he was a member of the VFW, and they were big in RV community.
Okay.
So,
I just want to make sure, see if they're one of our local branches here. Thank you, and so sorry to his family. Thank him for his service and his sacrifice. All right, Councilman Lawrence.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate you and our city leadership for doing another great job on the budget. Just really sharp and just really thankful that we can get this done. And thank you again. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lashley.
Echo that. Excellent job with the budget. Looking forward to the next hearing and more citizen involvement. And I appreciate everybody that did come out for this, and I appreciate the civility of the crowd too. That was actually pretty nice. They were understanding, listening to what we had to offer, and I think there was a lot of questions were answered, and a lot of views and standpoints that we have reaffirmed our position with this community and what we mean to them and what they mean to us most of all. Nothing else really to add, nothing really major going on except for last night at 11 o'clock. Got a phone call from my middle daughter, and she gave her life to Christ last night. So, great day.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Best accomplishment you can have as a parent. So,
Good job, Dad.
Now you got to
Thank-
move your now you got to move your letter.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman.
it was your church. Yeah, it was your church.
Councilman Holmes.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to the citizens for allowing us to serve you, to work for you on a daily basis. And if I had anything else to say to that portion, I would say to you, remember that we too are citizens of this community. And just about everything you have to do, we have to do. The text tonight, thank you for coming out, voicing your concerns, being concerned, but we got those same type notices, and we're going through the same thing to decide whether or not we are going to appeal it or not appeal it. But by the same token, remember that the city did not do these things to you. It's a roll-off. It started at the top and it rolled down off the top to the rest of us. We are concerned. We care about you as citizens, and we're going to continue to fight for and with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, actually, it's something about those middle childs. I got one named Karan. Whew. But again, I just want to say congratulations to Castor on his retirement and to his handler. Again, to just make a quick statement about the assessment, the Bible teaches us, hey, above all things, get understanding. So again, I ask the citizens to make sure that they understand what's really going on with these assessments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And with that, I've made a lot of comments earlier. I don't have anything to add except hope everybody has a wonderful week and enjoy your summer. Be safe, and I'll see you at our next hearing on Monday. Meeting is adjourned.